right, a little closing note. For me, personally, I always liked the style of like Brian Kest and some of my other teachers that I've had that were a little hard, a little tough, a tough love. And sometimes we need that, it's important to hear that, If you're practicing yoga, put yourself in Arjuna's shoes with Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna is telling him like, hey, you're gonna have to go out there regardless of your fear and go fight this other family that has family members in it, of your own, relatives, cousins, brothers, whatever. Duryodhana, they were related in a way, so they had to go fight each other. And Krishna was teaching him yoga and saying, hey, you're gonna have to go out there and do this. As yoga practitioners, and being in a household yogi position like we are, we're not running to the caves, we're frontline combatants of this stuff. We have to stay strong. So sometimes we have to hear some hard truths. And, you're becoming tougher, you're becoming stronger. I remember hearing Vasudeva one time in one of his talks. He's this yogi from Trinidad. And he goes, you're doing yoga to become tough. You've got to become tough, and you're going to put yourself through a lot of pain. You're challenging yourself again with your practice, with everything around you, and becoming more aware and conscious to see through all of this stuff, to be stronger, physically, mentally. The physical strength you gain from this practice makes you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually stronger. It's not just to, cower away at the first thing that makes you scared. If you're noticing fear, that's good. Let's practice more to become stronger so we're not so afraid the next time. Because ultimately, there's always going to be something else. We live on this planet, and Mother Earth can swallow up the human race and spit us out at probably any moment. That's the cold, hard truth of it. And I think underneath, and we all recognize that, how vulnerable we really are. That's okay. It's all right. The ancient yogis would say, it's all going to go away. When I painted this mandala, I realized one day it's not going to be here. So I don't mind when people put their feet on it or, over there. I'm practicing relinquishing, letting go, You've got to learn how to let go, let go, let go. For the big let go. You've always got to be practicing it all the time. Remember, the ancient yogis said that yoga in many ways is the art of dying. You're always letting go, constantly letting go of all this stuff. There's no U-Haul behind the hearse. You're not bringing anything with you. So the more you practice, letting go of these things, these mental things, these ideologies that we pick up, all this propaganda, the more you learn how to let go of all of it, the more you learn how to let go of things, physical things in your life that you don't need anymore, the more you practice relinquishing this stuff, the better off you are, the stronger you are, because then you're not dependent upon a lot of these things. One thing that's important during this time, is all of this stuff that we're hearing and sifting through all of it for truth. Eckhart talks about that right here. And it's what he's talking about, and he's spent a lot of time meditating on this. It's about television. It's about watching the TV and how that can become an addiction. We can start watching this stuff and become so fueled by it we can't turn it off. We end up just like a drug addict. And anybody who's had any, addictions like that in the past knows exactly what I'm talking about. You become so fixed on something, you can't let go of it. It becomes harder and harder. You can. And you're better off if you do. So here's Eckhart on television. Watching television is the favorite leisure activity, rather non-activity, for millions of people around the world. The average American, by the time he is 60 years old, will have spent 15 years staring at the TV screen. In many other countries, and the figures are similar. I remember Brian Kest bringing up the average 20-year-old today, somebody who was born in, this might scare some of you, somebody who was born in 2000, has already spent close to 2 or 3 years of their life watching just commercials. That's a little scary. Many people find watching TV relaxing. Observe yourself closely. You will find that the longer the screen remains the focus of your attention, the more your thoughts and activities become suspended. And for long periods, you're watching the talk show, the game show, sitcom, or even the commercials with almost no thought of being generated on your own mind. Not only do you not remember your problems anymore, but you become temporarily free of yourself. And what could be more relaxing than that, right? It almost sounds a little bit like meditating, right? It's not. So does TV watching create inner space? Does it cause you to be in the present? Unfortunately, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Again, he's telling you to watch yourself while you do this. How far you drift off. You go into kind of a different state of mind. They've done studies on this before. Although for long periods of time your mind may not be generating any thoughts, it's linked into the thought activity of the television show. It is linked up with the television version of the collective mind, and it's thinking its thoughts. Your mind is inactive only in the sense that it's not producing thoughts. It is, however, continuously absorbing thoughts and images that come through the TV screen. This induces a trance-like passive state of heightened susceptibility, not unlike hypnosis. It's programming, remember? Television programming. The TV guide, it's guiding you, right? That is why it lends itself into manipulation of the public opinion, as politicians and special interest groups, as well as advertisers, know and will pay millions and millions of dollars to catch you in that state of receptive unawareness. They want their thoughts to become your thoughts, and usually they succeed. Looks like they're succeeding pretty well, right? It's propaganda. Krishnamurti said back in the 60s, propaganda is one of the most evil, seductive, most terrible things that we've created as a human race. Look at the destruction it does. Look at the fear it produces on the society. I'm not saying that there's cause for concern right now. What I am presenting to you is look at how it's manipulating the public. Take it into consideration. Right? We all know that fear makes people do things, makes them get out of control, right? Look at what it does. Look how easily society is manipulated by these things that they do. Take, for example, not too long ago, September 11th. I remember a certain politician saying just shortly after September 11th, I think in October, we're at a heightened state. Terrorism is there. But it's okay, the holidays are coming, so go out, spend money, buy your gifts for your friends, and literally you saw the financial market grow from being told that by a certain politician. It works. Fear, raise the threat level, raise the fear, people go out and spend money. It makes them feel better. Why? Well, so when watching the television, the tendency is for you to fall below thought, not rise above it. Television has this common, as well as other drugs like alcohol, anything else. While it provides some relief from your mind, you again pay a high price, loss of consciousness. Like those drugs, it too has a strong addictive quality. You reach for the remote control to switch it off, and instead you find yourself going through all the channels. Half an hour later, you're still watching, still going through the channels. The off button is only a fingertip away, but you seem unable to press it. You're still watching, usually not because of any interest it has caught your attention, but precisely because there is nothing of interest to watch. Once you are hooked, the more trivial, the more meaningless it is, the more addictive it becomes. If it were interesting, thought-provoking, it would stimulate your mind into thinking for itself again, which is more conscious and therefore preferable to TV-induced trance. Your attention would therefore no longer be continually held captive by the images on the screen. He goes on to explain, there's good things to watch. Watch those things. The content of the program, if there is certain quality to it, to some extent, can counteract and sometimes even undo hypnotic, mind-numbing effect of the medium of the TV. There are some programs that have been extremely helpful to people, that have helped change their lives for the better, opened their heart, made them more conscious. Even some comedy shows, although they may be about nothing in particular, can be unintentionally spiritual by showing a caricature version of the human folly and the ego. Seinfeld comes to mind. Loved watching it. It's funny, brings up a lot of stuff, makes you kind of laugh, but it makes you think a little bit. You know? They teach us not only to take anything too seriously, but to approach life in a lighthearted way. And above all, they teach us to make us laugh. Laughter is extraordinarily liberating and well-healing. Most of television, however, is not controlled by people who are totally controlled by the ego. And so the TV's hidden agenda becomes controlled by putting you to sleep. That is to say, making you unconscious. Yet there is an enormous and still largely unexplored potential in this medium of television. Avoid watching programs and commercials that assault you with rapid succession of images. Rapid succession of images. Have you seen that lately? It's coming, it's growing, it's getting bigger. Constantly bombarding you with this stuff, right? Be aware of it. A short attention span makes all your perceptions and relationships shallow and unsatisfying. Isn't that true? You know, have some depth, have some meaning. Whatever you do, whatever your action you perform in the state lacks quality because quality requires attention. Frequent and prolonged TV watching not only makes you unconscious, it also induces passivity and drains you of energy, right? Everybody seems a little drained right now. I'm so tired of this. Oh, how long is this going to go on? Therefore, rather than watching a random TV show, choose programs that you want to see, right? There's plenty of good stuff, like he was saying. I like watching some stuff sometimes that other people probably think is silly. Forged in Fire. I think it's really interesting to watch these people create stuff. There's more than enough good things out there to watch. Things that stimulate your mind and kind of encourage you and promote you and inspire you to go try and make those things and do those things. And you can. Alternatively, be aware of your breathing from time to time. Look away from the screen at irregular intervals so that it does not completely take possession of your visual sense. Don't turn up the volume any higher than necessary so that the TV doesn't overwhelm you on an auditory level. Use the mute button during commercials. That's good advice. Do we really need to see any of those commercials anymore? They're so silly. They're so absolutely ridiculous. Do you honestly think that any of those toothpastes out there that you hear about on a ton, you just hear them constantly? This toilet paper is better to wipe your butt with. This toothpaste makes your smile brighter. Just brush your teeth more. Your teeth will be whiter. All this stuff is so silly. Make sure you don't go to sleep immediately after switching off the set, or even worse, fall asleep with the set still on. That's important. I like to watch something, spend a little time watching something that's interesting to me, and then when I go to sleep, read for a little while until my eyes get tired. Sometimes I'll listen to something, some good sounds, some solfeggio frequencies or rain, like just leave that in. I start to get tired, I pull the earplugs out, and then I fall asleep. Just make more conscious decisions. Be aware of this. Remember, you're a yogi. You're practicing yoga. You're doing this to become stronger, to get more power, to move towards enlightenment, not to fill yourself with fear. And if you're recognizing fear because of what's happening right now, acknowledge it and become stronger. See beyond it. Being scared right now, filling yourself with fear, anxiety, and all that stuff is not going to help anything or anyone around you that you love and care about. It's not going to help. It's not going to help. Follow the recommendations to keep yourself healthy. Fill your heart with as much love as possible so when you go out there into society, you can interact with people consciously, mindfully, but you're still there for them, We can't just abandon everything and everyone because of, just fear. Be aware of it. And remember, like I said, you're practicing yoga. You're not doing this to run away from this stuff. You're doing this to face it, acknowledge it, and move beyond it. All right. All right, keep practicing. As always, namaste. See you soon.